FYP and so start the study content. There are four: designing research work, preparing the research objective, and planning your. So for us to be able to guide or to supervise the student works, we must know the study itself. It doesn't matter whether you student can the one which the problem study is can must be done by you or must be by the student. So one of the way is you need discuss quite thoroughly with the student whether the some of the or not. So maybe in my presentation more related to if there's some other point that maybe study science or I hope you can then okay. So directly I just revisit again the statement. Very important research because the statement is the the things that you are expanding the gap for, and building everything from the start. So actually the bullet statement actually the seed of that research. There are a lot of problem statement. You can get a lot of problem statement from other study and then keep like collection of problem statement so that whether you can decide what study can you done from that. So for us maybe we have maybe you are a researcher yourself and then you have a lot of experience and then you know a lot of things because of maybe the experience that we get from study a PhD. Then we have a lot of friends that we can talk about research. However, for this in terms of students, they are lacking in yes and no. So when because of they are discussing with us that we are actually already experienced. So when we talk with them, you know that there are something that not connected because how to do it, how to they doesn't they didn't experience of that particular problems. It makes it difficult lah. However, since the supervisions, so I think that we have a good connection with the staff themselves, and then maybe we have a chance where they what is the student lacking in some efficient. So actually, if you are a researcher itself, so you are a researcher, so you are actually have your own understanding. So if the student are learning from you, that they are becoming your apprentice in that kind of that particular understanding. Whether maybe sometimes when the student studied a lot, read a lot, and then they must have a disagreement with you on some particular subject. However, since they are learning from you, they actually your okay. So I revisit maybe I already discussed previously with the proper statement, and then I just rewrite again. Then and then okay, the problem statement is describing constantly issues and conditions that need to be considered. So it can be simply brought as a research gap, the gap between current problem and future desired goal. So if at some point maybe uh, um when I was earlier study in my early study. So to say that to explain research gap maybe it's quite difficult to me. I don't understand what is research gap sometimes. So but simply when I got a chance to start, so I found that maybe I can just discuss simply gap and problem statement is the same. However, to say that whether research gap is the problem statement is totally a gap, maybe it's a lot of study need to be done. Maybe out and then you can find a nice a good gap, maybe a nice gap in that this area. So research gap is most if you for the final year project and master student, research gap is not an important aspect because they are uh, the, the situation they are in is just to learn how to do research. However, when you are doing a PhD, the research gap is very important. That wow, if the work had been done during your uh, master or FYP, during your final project. So in PhD, the work is a lot. So however, you need to learn how to manage the work so that it doesn't stress you. Maybe if you know how to do the doing the managing the PhD works, maybe it's less less stress, and then you can keep up with your life. With some of the PhD candidate also, they are working, they are doing part. So uh, sometimes PhD make them very stressful. So if you are able, if you are as wise, I think, so if you are able to manage their planning, maybe help them. So I recall back the research tool that we must have. Opinion. So maybe you have a better tool that some of students you are now. So I suggest this six must have this doing this. So I'm telling that you are this part of your research, and then this is the same thing that must be done by your student. You must be able. The student must know how must have a dedicated. The student might citation tool, then how to do the PDF, and then using the library as an one of the maybe when you at the start when the first one of the thing that they are lacking is how to some information. Maybe they are because they are maybe they are Gen Z. So the Gen Z is they have a lot. They are maybe used to social media, right? However, in terms of maybe searching for the research information, that one is maybe they are still lacking. We need to help
Uh,
them how to do research.
Dr. Syahir,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. I think your voice a bit breaking up. Uh, I think is the internet connection or what? Uh, can you do me a favor? Can you left and go in back? I think the internet connection not really stable at your side. Is that okay? Betul.
I just turned off the camera. Yeah? Just share the
Yeah.
live. Yeah.
Yeah. Now better.
Better.
Mm. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I think the six part of the research tool that maybe you need to teach our students how to use it, especially the search engine. So when you are meeting student, maybe at the first time they are maybe the first day they are doing FYP. I think you might find that they are looking in how to search a particular scientific information or maybe technical information because they are used to maybe like very easy way in searching like using HR or social media. But in terms of maybe very concise or very complete way of searching, they are lacking. So although we are maybe based of most of us maybe rely still like on the tool of using Google. So but is it that's not a problem because Google is the current best search engine. So so we can teach them how to maybe do the keywording, to do the how to do the semicolon thing. So where to find the tools in maybe like Science Direct or Scopus. So this is things that you must teach them first. And then you will teach step by step using maybe like dedicated folder, building folder, using some Foxit reader, using the PDF reader else other than Foxit reader you can use PDF, but I suggest using PDF Foxit reader because of the way you can use the search inside the research tool inside the software. But the way they need to read, maybe highlight or find, they need to get used to that kind of software. So next is the citation tool. Maybe they can use citation tool. Maybe they can type by themselves. But I think when you are teaching them how to to use tools, maybe it make them faster and better. And then the master table, as I expected, there's a need in for you to have master table. So the master table is actually the quantitative, right? Quantitative analysis of the works that had been done by previous study. So and then although you have found like only one or two very closest content of other researcher to you, but you still need to have a lot of omission of other researcher too, because as I said previously, if you are doing a PhD, if you're guiding a PhD student, research gap is very important. So to build a research gap, you need to have a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, because there's a way you need to say that this particular research gap is needed to be studied. So other than like master or FYP project, they just need maybe use technical tools or software, or maybe improve things in that particular field. So research gap is maybe not being asked by the, the external. Okay. For the master table, I repeat again what need to be done. Maybe this is like 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 points that maybe just a minimum 10 points need to be inserted into your tables. However, maybe you can put more like remarks or something. So that's a problem. But at least you have this point, so that it's easy for you to do the quantitative analysis. So there are title, years, author, keyword, abstract, problem statement, objective, conclusion, DOI, and hyperlink. So as you can see here, maybe it's easy for you to find titles and years. So this is needed for you to, because you need to understand the flow of that particular research work. You find for like myself, I'm using study in I'm doing study in microbillion example. So I need to know the flow of other research works that lead to current situation. So maybe they have tried a lot of things. So you know that this technology already been obsolete because of that 10 years ago, 20 years ago. However, you are still need to understand the fundamental inside that particular works. And then the authors, and then the keywords. So in keywords is important because of is help you to know what is the best keyword for you to put in your paper or your study, because when people do the searching, they might type the common keyword that being used by other researchers. So for that, it's easy for your paper to be appeared for their search engine. And then for the abstract, it just copy and paste from the paper abstract and then put inside here. So you don't need to care about the size of the box. You just need to put it inside. So maybe later when you go to search, maybe you can just extend, or you can extend, and you can increase the size of the box so for you to be able to read it. And then the problem statement, then find the problem statement in the last paragraph of that research paper. So from here, I for this master table, I suggest you only need to collect the content from research papers, not review papers. For us, that review papers is actually a textbook, right, in that particular field. Maybe you can say that they themselves, the researchers, doing a lot of reading, and then they put it into the review, and then they publish it as a way to show that they are focusing on that particular area of that paper lah. And then for us to do that, maybe it's hard for us to, maybe when we refer to research paper, there's a lot when we refer to a review paper, there's a lot of content that uh, already like maybe catch our mind, so we can go further from that. So it hard for us to like macam be creative inside for that particular area. So I suggest that if you are collecting papers, maybe you can divide your dedicated folder into two. one is research paper and one is review paper. So review paper is just okay, determine that particular authors is doing this kind of research and kind of work in that particular area. However, when you do the analysis of the quantity analysis, better for you to check the research paper because research paper is discussing a lot of problem statement. They have their own problem statement. They have their own solution. So that point, that particular point inside that paper, you are needed to know so that you have a better direction in your research gap. So here, if you maybe some of the paper is not standard, maybe there, but sometimes they are lacking in some point. However, it is easy for you to locate the problem statement objective at the last paragraph of that research paper. So and then in that last paragraph, usually they have this statement. The study is going to current study in this paper something. So they said that what is they are going to do in that they are going to explain in that paper, in that research paper. So that will be the objective of that paper. So you will divide them between this in the last paragraph. You need to divide them into two. One is objective, one is problem statement. So for me, is just although you are maybe not understand what of the problem statement of that paper or what is the study that is going to be done. However, you need just divide them to two and put it in the table. So there are two. So easy you can say that this paper that it has this particular problem statement and this objective. The objective usually only one minimum is one for some papers. Maybe if you are reading Q1 papers, maybe you say that you can see that there's a lot of objective in that paper. So okay, for the conclusion, okay, you just copy the conclusion content and then put into the table. And then the UI also important. You need to put the UI into that table. And then hyperlinks is the way you can redirect your table, the position of that file in your computer. So you have dedicated folders, and then you need to copy the hyperlink from the address table, and then put that into this hyperlink. So next time when you read, you will open your master table, and then you check one by one, maybe like keep reading and keep understand what they are going to do. Then it's easy for you to maybe find what is the complete paper, or what the complete paper, which to find the complete paper, you can just click the hyperlink. Okay, so first, as I explained previously in previous training, I had just explain a bit about the how to build the problem statement, and then you must know that the problem statement must consist of these four particular points. Their problem, and then the explanation of that problem, and then what is your solution, your suggested solution, and then maybe why your solution can solve the problem. Maybe when you know that building a problem statement is quite hard, because maybe there are some of the understanding, some of the knowledge we are this is unknown. Maybe for you to come up with solution maybe very hard, right? So however, at least you can have this particular table, then maybe you will collect the problem, and then maybe the hypothesis later in your life, maybe in your research works, you find some particular paper, and then you can use that solution as your solution of that particular problem. Because the problem statement itself is the first two problem is the problem that may be faced by other researcher too. They face maybe like for me, they are using 5% tool. So the same problem they experience is the tool life is very short. And then I also do the same thing. The tool life is very short. So other people, my student also doing say that the tool life is very short. So however, when it comes to the solution, the hypothesis suggested solution, that will say that will show the different of you and other researcher. But this is the way that you need to find whether some solution has been done by other researcher. So some solution is not that in that area, and then in like you as an example, you are using patient example, using oil. Maybe that particular oil is not in the in the machining area, but it is in maybe binary example, or veterinary. So it's this but very it is a very wide way to find that how to solve some problem, although it's not related in some field. So example, I just make a rough example. So here I make a rough problem, but this is not very perfect one, but it is an example for maybe like we can see how to beat a problem. And then from here, actually, although I come up with just from my mind, actually, when you build a problem, you need to have a lot of understanding, a lot of experience and knowledge. So, but for us, it's not hard because we keep reading, right? You keep maybe that your friend also do research, and then you are involved in any project presentation. You are involved in external or internal panels, then you go maybe meeting or you go to maybe involved in event. So you yourself already understand a lot of problem. However, for your student, they doesn't know what is actually problem in that area. So you are the one who explain to them. So in this case, example, I make a problem in terms of cat lah. And then okay, I just keep maybe it's a fake one lah. Whenever the cat eat this food, the food is being dropped in the drop into the floor. So this is a problem. And then why is the problem? It's a problem because of maybe there are some maybe scientific observation there, or maybe observation you can say, to discuss maybe that is the reason why the problem happened. So there's maybe I assume this because of the problem. I can just for just for understanding lah. Jadi each problem must have their own reference. So if maybe if I refer to actual study, this is wrong. But I just want to show the example of the problem. Okay, example, this is due to the behavior of the cat pressing the food onto the bowl before biting. Example, this is the problem. So this is one is the upper one is the problem. The second one, the second row is um, the reason of that problem happen. So here you can say that what is the way how what is the point that you need to focus if you want to the next study. So maybe the first behavior is maybe a general behavior when you why is it happening. So maybe there are maybe a lot of reason why that things happen. So maybe A B C D. So when you choose, maybe you choose A, or maybe sometimes you choose B. Like example, when I do the tools toolings in trainings, although I said that the tool life is short, and then this is due to maybe I said one of the reason is um the maybe the tool size example, and then the second reason is maybe the frictional behavior. The third one is maybe the way we utilize tool. So there are a lot of reason why it's happening. So in that particular reason, why is that problem is a problem, and then you need to have a suggestion how to solve that problem. So because the first what is the problem, maybe a general one. The one why is it happening, maybe that's very niche, very little bit niche. And then how to solve the problem. So you come up with any suggestion that might be related to that, how that method to solve problem. And then example, there is a need to in changing the shape of the cat food bowl from the circle to square shape. This is example. And then we assume that how that the suggested problem can solve the problem because of maybe the square shape is able to distribute the food to other direction when the cat put the food near to the edge. So this is example of hypothesis, and as well as I call as suggested solution. So although maybe some of us can treat this explanation very easy, however, when you come into you put it into a paper or journal or documentation, so this problem uh, must have a reference from other researcher too. So to say that this problem that you say is also experienced by others. Maybe if some of them maybe not experience the same problem, maybe we can find from other particular area related to that type of problem. So although this problem can be created instantly, example, However, this each words must have must be strong by uh, having other reference from other study. So actually, you need to the student or us need to read a lot, and then understand the objective of the paper, the problem of the paper. So we can later build our own problem statement from the information. So from here, you need to be a research question. So this is as an example how to create some opening in our study, so that maybe we can design some methodology inside of that to find the data. So here, what I just put what is the mechanism of cat biting. So this is just a, 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 a research question that for that particular problem. We can say that maybe there's some you can find some literature that said it must be concise, or maybe it must be very complex. So that one is that one is just a core content instead of asking a research question. At least when you are putting a research question, you must refer to the your problem statement. So from each particular component of the problem statement, you build a research question. So from here you can say that either you understand the problem, or you understand the study or not. So maybe for us, okay, no problem. But for the student, is it is easier to done? Is it easier to be understand? So this is when by referring to the question, they can do further search, maybe for their literature or for their methodology development. So what is your problem statement? Yeah, this is question. Okay. So next, I continue to the second part, which is preparing the research objective. I think I have a question. I continue preparing the research objective. So this objective also is very important part in guiding your student. What is the work by them? So research objective is okay. The project to be published, and then this is my opinion. Is that you must know that research objective must have their process of further related investigation of the work. They are step by step. They must be related. They must be not diverge too far, and then they must not repeated. Maybe the same objective. Maybe if you are doing a similar process of for various parameter, actually they are the same objective. So we shouldn't make a repetition or redundant of objective in our project in our. So here I show an example. So in my experience, I had described. I found that there are this five way of research flow, maybe flow of research objective. So there are there are five words, which is characterization, validation, optimization, and improvising. So this is just what my opinion, what I had maybe suggested to my student to follow. Because if you are doing in any step of this object, maybe if you are in at this at any step of that research, example, you are already done the categorization, and then when come to your student, your student will continue validation, and then to make it objective or to objective. So after validation, they must follow with validation. So this is the way the way that I suggested for you to research objective. So example, these are five words. Maybe you can find the synonym of each particular point, which is that characterization. Maybe you can find elucidation, maybe observation. So this the one is just the synonym, but you must put this that particular words into that categorization. So in categorization, for maybe when you build you write a thesis, that thesis shouldn't my suggestion should have this particular word. There's that there might be there's no I think there's much there will be no thesis that you should start with maybe categorization, because categorization is a very niche project in that in objective. But maybe for paper it's no problem for you, because maybe a journal or very short paper it doesn't matter to put objective, because or you can if I write in the right part uh, in paper example in the conference paper you must have at least one objective. In maybe journal paper like Q3 and Q4, at least one two objective. When it comes to Q1 paper, they ask you a complete work for them to accept. So, however, to do directly from maybe the whole study and then you submit to for it, it can be impossible for you to done it, because it take a lot of time. However, for you to complete that maybe your own magic, I think your the way you need to show that you are doing that work, you need to have you need to attend conference, and then you need to put it to submit maybe little by little content of your study journal in journal like Q3. So that the into one is my opinion. I experienced that Q1 ask you complete work, but to have a complete work means that a combination of other sub work in other journal that you had submitted. So and then you combine and then you come up with Q1. Actually the final part of the study. There's no usually they will ask you the completion, like there's no future work, although there's no complete content there. So that one is the tips for one. Even for Q3 and Q4 it's no problem. You have maybe you have one objective and then you have the result discussion. You can for that. However, for the project, the student yeah, the idea for this master. So at least they must have two. Master also must have two. It's impossible for you to say that there are one study, right? They have one objective, then they complete the study. No, they must at least two objectives. However, in terms of final project, because they are not focusing on that study, they are having their own class, right? They, so they have limited time for them to complete that. So maybe you can maybe guide them for a little bit maybe easier project, easier content, so that they can complete their final project. So in terms of master, okay, master by research, they have a better times or better work style, maybe better content, a better content for their thesis. In terms of PhD, at least they must have three objectives. And then the three objective is where you need to start from this cycle of objective. So example, I say that maybe in my situation I use micromailing. So I in terms of I compact the yes, I have example next. Okay. So in terms of categorization, so in categorization itself, there are several content that it must have. For example, observations. Although I said to categorize, maybe when you put when you do build the objective, you say that categorize, maybe just elucidate. So to justify it's not an so maybe you can find a better synonym word. In categorization itself, it is a fundamental component in that object in your work. For example, uh, there are some phenomena happen, and then the phenomenon is unknown. So that phenomenon, the unknown phenomenon, in the level of so I think I number one. So this is below. So maybe you can find it from maybe TRL, right? TRL. I 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that one is much better explanation for this. But when you come up with the research study, I think I suggest this kind of objective. So to categorization. So in terms of categorization, there are several work to be done. One is to observe. Secondly, to analyze. Okay, yes, these two is already in the first stage of the study. So, uh, although some of us make it as too objective, maybe at least for the project is okay, acceptable to observe and to analyze, to observe to analyze. In terms of micro study, it's better to have to categorization and to validate because of they need to do a conclusion, very strong conclusion for their project. For example, to categorize they have to observe and then to analyze in in a in just this particular objective. So in observation example, there's a lot of things happen like when we observe the phenomena, taking the picture, taking photo, and then maybe do measurement. So that one is in the stage of observation. So maybe the heat, the color change. So the observation. So that one is under categorization. And then when measured, you must in term of science, like we have a measurement, we have measurement to have. So you need to measure maybe colors or width or size or maybe the cost also okay. Then maybe so that particular measurement content will be input in the categorization usually. Uh, there are some maybe, although we can refer maybe we refer to other paper like other research work. We can say or we can observe what we can read what they had done in their research. So we can know that categorization itself actually something that very unknown because you observe something change in terms of phenomenon, right? The very new phenomenon or maybe a new idea, and then we have a lacking of we are lacking very complete suggestion or maybe friends, and then we need to do the maybe session to so to say that there are very maybe usually when we ask them, when the student present their works and then when they do uh, show their parameter and then we ask them why you so so sometimes the student is very hard to say why I choose that parameter. Just randomly happen that parameter is chosen because of maybe the relation of that phenomenon happen, right? So maybe you can example you observe the phenomenon of maybe the birds coming back from works, maybe they find food and they come back to their nest, example, uh, during 24-hour line of day, and then you can say that um maybe you need to measure the position of the bird example, and then as you say, and the student say that I choose 6 a.m. and then I choose 9 a.m. and then 11 a.m. 1 p.m. and then I measure the location of the bird. That one is the student just not with maybe a random, but why you need to measure hours, right? So it's quite random, but at least they have like uh very the chosen size of sample of parameters must be similar, must be isometry, so that it's easy for them to administer. So at least they come up random, maybe we can have a chance that maybe at least they explain that the other teacher also choose this kind of parameter. So I choose this is because of the limitation of the phenomenon itself. Example, the limitation of so that one is the observation and the choosing of parameter. And then to analyze, you must have later in the analysis process, they must have uh, the implicit, explicit explanation of that result. Like they plot the data that is taken from that observation, categorization. So they must have ability to plot a graph, whether the bar graph or whether it's a line graph. So if the continuous things happen, so maybe they are line graph. If there's it's not continuous and just a comparison, they need to do bar graph, or maybe the chart, maybe there's a lot of things. The way to show their data from the measurement, and then from there they need to the explicit and implicit. They must explain each point of maybe the change of data, the the rate of change of data, like the kecenderungan graph there. So they need to explain why they need to tell the readers, maybe tell the readers that there's a change of position, the change of data, the change of value. And then that one is the explicit. And then later implicit, they must have a very complete knowledge, maybe other researcher to explain what is happening, what the things happen, and then due to what reason, and then what situation. So that one is still under characterization. So characterization itself is actually have a lot of work because of sometimes they come up with a new things, and then they need to build a new machine. They need to somewhere new. So characterization itself is like very fundamental of stage of that study. But after that, when you complete maybe the explicit, the implicit explanation of that data, and then you will have a chance. Maybe the student, the researchers, will have a chance to do validation, which is that you need to change uh, a particular parameters that maybe when you observe in the characterizations, and then in terms of validation, you must make a go further point. So maybe a bold change, maybe a bold parameter change, or maybe sometimes that things that are maybe unknown, or maybe the same, but maybe because of the work is very wide, so it's you must have a reason validation. So when in terms of validation itself, uh, if you are building adjective using validation, must have a reason why you need to, what situation you need to validate. For example, if I doing the characterization of a new thing, a new tool, for example, I do new common material. So for common material such as maybe steel, aluminium, and then in terms of validation, because I need to have industrial properties itself, so I need to validate using uh, using a harder material, a composite, or using uh, um, critical critical situation, critical parameters. So the validation itself, usually you need to have a reason, and need to know uh, the 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 term of validation itself. Maybe there are possibility to fail is there because of validation. Sometimes it's the validation itself, you come up with very maybe unsuccessful data, right? So and then maybe you need to find other parameters that maybe if you want to go to show, maybe usually you are submit paper, you usually submit paper, you proposing a very good result, right? However, actually the bad result itself is very important knowledge. The unsuccessful result, the unsuccessful experiment itself is a very good knowledge for you to do a new characterization. So any unsuccessful term, any unsuccessful attempt in your study actually lead to another study of your research. So in terms of validation, you need to have a reason, and it must be actually the point lah in submitting realize. Okay, so if you're successful in validation, so you will go to position. So in terms of FYP project, sometimes they are just stuck in the characterization because of the characterization needs a lot of work. Maybe if you have already maybe the result of characterization is available from your previous student from other, okay, they will follow to validation. So you know that you have the tools, you have the information, you have the data from the characterization, and then now the student need to their study. So just continue to validation. So they will post maybe a new uh, parameters, then put that get already their data, and then they will come up with conclusion of that validation step. And then for that, after that, if you are successful in validation, you need to go to the next step, which is optimization. You must have a certain point in validation that need to be optimized. So optimization, usually you have I think, in my opinion, there are 3 points, which is there are some cost saving, energy savings, maybe energy saving, and then less waste example. So that optimization maybe economic level increase. So that optimization point is related to that particular situation. So you know that optimization might do some change, but maybe a better one than computer validation, because validation is about uh, work, because you very critical point you work, and then okay, you find that okay, it is true, it's okay, it is acceptable in that validation. So you must have a point to optimize that, whether this data can be utilized in very effective way, a very efficient way. So that one is optimized. So if you know that you are starting in any that particular point of this objective, so you must know what is the next step that you are going to do. So you in terms of maybe like after validation and then you will go categorization, I think it is not suggested because of the level of the works that you had done. So if you are doing if you the things that you are lacking of, so better you go starting from categorization and validation. So at least in final project, maybe they start in categorization. Then for master, at least they must reach the level of validation. And then in terms of PhD student, in terms of PhD, you must have 3 objectives. You must have at least until the optimization. So these 3 step example shows that the PhD student is have a, a strong knowledge that in particular area of the study. So they know how to they understand the phenomena, they understand the they understand what happened if there's some change in the critical point, and then they know how to manage it so to make it effective. So that one is the PhD. So if they reach this three, actually the research scope of that particular area is really soft. Usually sometimes the student itself maybe start at validation. They start at validation because of maybe they are lack of stage of example. So I think but it is you can know that actually they are still lacking in understanding. So at least if they reach until the level of optimization at the 3 objective lah, the 3 objective, so we can say that the student is understanding in their works. So at least the three the 3 step of the 3 step of the objective. Example like validation, if the PhD student start from validation, so the PhD will continue with optimization, and then you need to utilize. So in terms of utilization in provisioning, one is the application that related to industry. So in the real situation. So at the 1 to 3, the categorization, validation, and optimization, usually they are stuck in the lab work. So maybe TRL 1 to 3 example. So when they come up to utilization, maybe they are starting to step on the TRL 4 utilization. So they will have application in the actual situation. Example, with the information for optimization, they take the data and industry, and then at that point that knowledge in the industry. For example, if you are doing maybe you science social project, maybe you have a certain information from that learning from your that knowledge, and then you come up with to does it in terms of the actual field. So there you can have a understanding. So I'm not suggesting that a research PhD student to up to from categorization and utilization. So it's very taking a lot of time. So it is actually our work as a researcher to do it until to make it connected. So we have our own responsibility in knowledge development. So we are the one who actually connect them together, planning how to make it able to be done. So this is the like question a lot from me. Okay, so in terms of building is building energy. So here I have I have take from the previous question, uh, the content, and then come to this point. I want to we wish to build the research objective. So as you can see here in the maybe they have the point in your purpose statement, and then you want to build a strong objective or maybe a good objective so that your student can continue the work. So I have this problem statement, and then I have this problem question. So now I want to build to build the objective, and then based on that particular point, transition, validation. So here, example, I take from the point of the third how to solve the problem. So I build a maybe the situation is still a phenomenon whether it is acceptable or not. So I come up with uh, an objective called to categorizing the shapes designed with the food drop. So maybe there are a lot of parameters that need to be need to analyze the shape, maybe the surface friction, maybe the cat itself, the size of cat, maybe the kittens, maybe they have a different behavior. So that unknown very there's there's a lot of parameters that uncertainty of parameters whether they're related or not is come up with into the categorizing uh, point. So from there, I put into this level, which is to categorizing means that there's a lot of parameters need to be checked, and then there are a lot of analyzing that need to be done. So for you to come up with a certain a small conclusion, so that you can so that you understand with this. So next, after do categorizing, so maybe you can do an elucidating example, and then you will go to next is to validating. So I assume that I put the shape design with various type of food. So previously, maybe at the first I do the similarity the simple simple characterization, which is there's a lot of information, and then in terms of validation, so I do the a different maybe uh, and a unique type of food maybe. So maybe there's a lot of change in categorization and validation. So you maybe you have a way to validate because if you have you need to um, position information, the parameters, which condition, whether it's categorization or in the validation. So actually, it very it's still need a lot of study, but it is this example that maybe at first maybe I didn't check whether there's a food or dry, wet or sticky. Because of I check only the shape design, only the so there's no particular other variation happen, but at least I have a maybe I can conclude at certain shape of the bowl is okay, and it's the best have the best result because of maybe have the graph, and then for the graph I do the implicit analysis. So in the end I do a small conclusion that this particular shape is okay, and then I need to validate that data information from the first objective to a various other parameters. From here, I limit it into the type of food. Maybe you can change to um other animal itself, like dog food example. So maybe so this is example of parameter change. So if you have you know that you are actually very good in your own field, so maybe you know what you are going to do in variation step. But this is the example. So you need to have a bold side. A, a, there's something that very critical you don't know. Maybe you need to have a maybe the 50-50 chance of this particular parameter is make the result is fail. Maybe I had maybe in the first two categorization I come up with a certain shape, maybe a square shape. However, when I try to this particular parameters, on the dry is okay, sticky okay, but wet is not okay. So that result is considered as very good lah, because you have a variation of parameters, and then you have uh, okay result and bad result. If 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 there is a situation where when you use that right parameters, but all the result is maybe is unknown, maybe unclear, or maybe all the parameters is all the parameters is fail. So maybe there are needs for you to get back to characterization, and then to find what is the reason behind that particular phenomenon happen. So the failure itself is not a limitation or a stop or full stop for your study. It's actually a loop where you return back to characterization step, and you need to find maybe a certain parameters is still maybe unfound in that particular area. So you said itu, that's why I say that categorization itself is quite a lot of study need to be done. And then if you are doing for your student FYP student, it's better for you to maybe divide them into two observation and maybe internalize. So that one is for FYP student. If you maybe the works of observation and analysis is just a little, and then you have more time to study, maybe you can go into. So to say that, or to make it like very new knowledge to phenomenon inside your particular research area, and then you need to ask your final project student to do until the level of validation. Maybe it takes a lot of time for them to they get confused, because to read a lot is very hard, and then they have their own classes to attend. Maybe they might stuck in the categorizing itself. So at least you can teach them how to do research in your field, or maybe their way of motivating them to it is interesting, and then to further study is much more interesting. So that will guide them to better in the. So if you have a research objective, and then you can start from a statement, and then it's a question, and then go must have to. Usually must have to. So, okay, designing research work. Okay, research work must based on your number of. So you have objective, and then as I said previously, the categorization objective itself is have a lot of maybe long work to be done, and then if you have you have two objectives, example for your FYP student or for your master student or PhD student, uh, the number of objectives means that the phase of the study is there. So there's an if the more objective, the more phase. But they cannot prevent themselves from doing a lot of phase lah, because there's a requirement for them to have a very very strong knowledge of that particular area. So in terms of research work, you must know that you have two, the processes and the properties. Properties that you the fixed, the currently available parameters you have, you must describe the properties, example material or the cost, maybe the size. I think is properties. And then you have to be investigated parameters. What parameters that you need to investigate? In example, like categorization, maybe you have a change of wait time, a cost, maybe the area, maybe if you are doing science social, maybe the change of maybe situation, maybe the location of the sample, like in the area, in the city, or in foreign country. So that kind of parameter, the change say that if it parameter that to be investigated must have in your research work, and then it is based on literature in other research work. So because there are way of doing the processes, it's hard for you to know that you are doing by yourself. Suddenly you appear with your own processes, it is impossible. So although at least you have your own, I said that I can do this myself without read any literature. Means that actually we are doing the study based on maybe our experience in industry, our experience during our high school or our undergraduate. So that one is the reason why we can do it without reading. However, actually all research work must have relation with the literature. So however to put wrongly, which means that you explain someone else works in your methodology example is wrong, because other researcher works must be in literature review. However, it says that in the research in that literature review said that this particular process must be done to obtain this particular data. So that conclusion of process example will be in your methodology. So you will repeat it, explain it again in your methodology. So it must be based on literature, but it's not a literature review. So the student, you must remind the student shouldn't put a lot of explanation, unrelated explanation in the methodology, because of that one is literature review. Yeah, so as I said, each phase, okay, each objective, one objective, one phase. So each phase must have two processes, properties, and parameters. So in terms of maybe kinds of other than technology, maybe my information is maybe lacking. So I'm sorry here, but if this particular point maybe related to you, so I hope you can use it. Can use. And then you must have tools, and then properties, tools, and then processes and properties and parameters. So tools, I mean that you must know that what kind of tool that you will utilize. Maybe you are doing simulation, you must have a computer. If you are doing a frictional behavior study, you must have a Python disk example. If you are doing botanical analysis, you must have a particular maybe a method, like maybe using hydroponic example. You are doing, maybe you are studying in on you are doing a study on marine life example. You must have a boat, or maybe you have a way, you have microscope example. So you have that kind of tool that needed for your study to be done. So here is the job of us, the supervisor or the researchers, the 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 the, the lecturer. So we must have our own tool, so that we can guide the student to follow us to do. So example, if you have maybe you don't have a hardware, maybe you don't have hardware, at least you have a computer example. So maybe you can do analysis, you can have some software. If you don't have maybe simulation software, or maybe the software is licensed, so maybe you can try freeware example, license free software. So that one is considered as tool. So the tool is important for research to be done. I think all of us, either you are science social or maybe uh, uh, medical, or so you must have tools. So tools is so where you are determining whether you have the resources. So whether if you are, there's some of the maybe a bad, maybe not ethical way, like in guiding student, where you ask the student things that you are that cannot be done by yourself, because you don't have the tool. Then you would ask them to ask the student to their own application, or the search, or to do the buying the component itself. So that is wrong way, in my opinion. So I suggest, if it is needed for us to have you must you must have the particular method or tools that you can give to student, or maybe you can download the software. You can use this maybe so that you can do the experiment. So in for that tools, you must have a feature, schematic diagram. Maybe if your computer, you must have software names, and then um and the maybe the GUI of the software itself. And then if you are doing ethical, you have the component. And then if you are doing marine life, what maybe you have a way of to showing that this is particular point of the sea you go, veterinary or social, maybe you have the way, the area in the maps that you are going to. So that the tools uh, currently. So in terms of tool, okay, you show the tool. So the tool itself will be related to the processes. So in terms of processes, you explain how to use that tool, get the data. you must tell the student to explain thoroughly how to uh, use the tool. They must have picture. Example, if you are using hardware, you have a picture of maybe position the hardware. You have a schematic diagram, and then you must explain. Okay, this for from step A, step 2, step 3. This need to be done. This need to be done. So that particular point in explanation must be at the processor. So there are two in the processors. After that, we if in terms of methodology, so this is only one phase. If the next phase, you need to repeat the same things. If the phase might interrelated, such as you're using the same hardware but different type of material, maybe you can say that you are using the tools in figure 3.1 example. So that is an example of the application. But the phase will be needed to each phase you need to for you to explain the processor and then the properties, then the parameters. So the property itself, like maybe you are okay, you need to show the specification of your tools or your fixed material. So example, if your tools you are using example SNC machine. So in properties you need to put the spec of that machine example. So if you are doing research with maybe industry secret, maybe there are NDA there. So maybe you need to do planning, which is in what point that of the machine or the device can be utilized. You can be as your expertise. So maybe you cannot say what kind of machine that be just by that company. And you can remove the name of the company because of you don't want maybe the other the for the sake of NDA. So the other will not know the secret of the company. So maybe you can generalize the property. So the type of material, the type of tool, okay, the go of the hardware you are using. So that one is the limitation of the can be said that this is the scope of that particular phase. So there's no you maybe the researcher maybe will maybe the examiner will ask the student why you are not using this tool. So that the student must know how to answer that. Maybe the limitation of that using the tool. So this is the scope of the study using that. So from there, after at the end of the part, you must have a parameters that need to be investigated. So there's a change of variations, maybe the hardware, maybe the change of some size, or maybe the change of speed, change of chemical, change of location, maybe change of. So that tested parameters must be have in your research work. So this for particular point shows that what kind of work that need to be finished, need to be done by the student. So at the end of the each phase, there must be a small conclusion. What will be in the research and discussion? But I didn't put. So you must know that if they are lacking of maybe processes, so the student must add the content of processes in research methodology. So if they are lacking of properties, they must put in the content of properties. So sometimes they didn't know what is lacking of the information lacking in their research methodology or their research work. So because of they don't know what point of they need to be, because maybe if they doesn't put the properties, so actually the very wide, very maybe general. So maybe wrongly understand by the readers. So this point must be. Okay, now the next part is need with the information of the previous phase, the research work, need to plan your student research because you know that your capability as a researcher, your tools, your connection, maybe your resource, your grant. So from there you can decide what kind of work that the student can do. If you don't grant, it's no problem. Maybe they can do some using certain method, maybe the free software. So we ourselves also need to keep increasing the knowledge in our area. Maybe our area becomes stagnant, it's a bit another area. Example, if in industry or military industry, the one is the casting itself is actually quite stagnant in the research work. So rather than study in term of casting, they are going to the machining, develop using the same casting method but a different way of production. So for the workflow, there are two things that we must have, which is the flowchart and the Gantt chart. So maybe the costing is not included here, but at least you have these two, the flowchart and the Gantt chart. So flowchart and Gantt chart is actually refer to the one that I explained previously, the chapter. So firstly, you need to build a flowchart because flowchart is the way you need to show the way you do work, and then the way you make decision. So because of the flowchart have some particular box there, then that help the student to say whether it's okay or not. So example, so in the flowchart, the each step in the process must be included into the. For example, if it's general processes that doesn't need to have any decision, okay, we can take a flowchart. But if there's a lot of there's a need of uh, analyzing and then do a decision, make a decision making. So they need to develop a several process. For example, there are some things that you cannot combine together. For example, like the parameter A, the result of parameter A cannot be it's not needed to be done similar to the parameter B, example. But each parameter have their own decision, so you need to make several other processes that to come up with that calculation. So there are work steps. Each step in the process must be cut down in the list. So you can say that what they had done in the processes must be included in the flowchart, because flowchart shows the steps. So there's a need to have a complete flowchart, because there's no way that the student keep some of the important steps and then come up with a conclusion and then it's okay. So the flowchart is actually simplified the understanding of summarize this process that you are going to do in your research work, so that student can get the result. So there must be a decision making here. Is that the whether in terms of decision making, this in terms of decision making, when you have a data example, right? When you do the visualization and then you do the analyze. So there are start in the process, for example. And then when you do analyzation in this case, and then you can find that this result is shows some result example. And then whether you want to say that good or not, you must put in a decision making loop. So you say that okay, you if the parameter reach certain value, so the result is okay, you can continue the study. If the result is not the parameter shows as a different value, so you need to do maybe sub process or return to the previous process to change maybe a certain information. So in terms of maybe loop, right, because you are showing that there's a need to find a lot of data. Usually, some student, some of put a decision making loop. Whether is this the final parameter? First, we say that it's not the final one. So return back to repeating the process again. So that one sometimes we put inside or you also put into the in the flowchart. But I think it's not wrong. You have to show that there are no way skip or miss some particular point in the test. So you need to show that there are phases. So there are no limitation of size of the flowchart, but at least you must know that all the content must be in the flowchart. So you should divide the flowchart into two. I suggest if you have a lot of you have several objectives, so you must have each the study is continuous, but the way you divide maybe the flowchart must be into phases. So after that, maybe after the process to end, jadi after process to end, so you are going to the phase 2. So you must show in that. So it's okay to be the flowchart is complex, but make it complete is important. Complex is it's okay. I'm using this apps on a free apps, I think. we call apps.diagram.net. So usually I type grow.io. So the software is easier for you to draw the flow chart, and then it's very fast and easy compared to if you are using in words. I think it's better to use these apps because of it's come up with they will come up with vector type, and then the way they you can position is easier, and then some of it already helping you to uh, so later if you are doing, so you are writing grant, so maybe you have need that, so you have you can. So also the student also, okay, you can they draw this flow chart, so they know that at what position currently they are doing the research. We start in step 1, and then next they need the process 1, then they need their own decision. So if go back, so at first before they are doing maybe their own research, so you are as the supervisor or researcher need to uh, assess their flow chart, maybe flow chart, the Gantt chart, because before they are doing their work, must you must check whether this the step of work is okay or not, because of you it's hard for us maybe to observe them 24 hours whether they are doing the work, and then at each time they have a problem, or they are experiencing something, they keep asking us, is it okay, is it or not. So maybe if we have the ability to prepare them and their work, the future of their work, maybe they can at least until they complete a certain phase, then they will come up first with the data, so you can check, and then you can have them, so here this is quite important for you, that for first 3 or the first 4 weeks, if finally project 1 example semester or final project, maybe it's quite for us understand their flow chart. So you need them to present, and then you can ask them what is why they are doing this and that, and then what reason, and then so everything. So if the flow chart is okay, they can continue the research work. The next is the Gantt chart. So it's important to have Gantt chart also. So Gantt chart is the way you plan the time for them to complete a certain particular area. So although the Gantt chart is like maybe randomly you can you can build the Gantt chart by yourself, by ourselves, but actually we must understand there's some study actually taking a lot of time. So but the student don't know either it's a long work. So it work a lot of work, they doesn't know. So they didn't know. So they don't know. So that you need to guide them. This we ourselves need to have maybe a lot of experience in planning of their work, because we say that okay, to maybe if doing the machining, so they take like half an hour pick one machine data. So and then they need to use the microscope example to check the size of where example, and then they go for that situation they need to position the tool, and example they did like another 3 hours, another 30 minutes. So they say that for one data it's already taken like 1 hour to. So you imagine you have like five parameters of 5 data example. So you will it will take like 5 hours, or maybe if they can spend only 3 hours because of their and other class, that will lead them to misplanning of their research. So we ourselves as a researcher or as a supervisor need to understand how they should end their work. So sometimes we need to ask them which at what time they're free, what time they haven't they haven't have any class. Like in UMP, the student in the final year have like still have like 20 hours to attend before the final project. And while doing the final project, some of students also have capstone project, so they need to do the capstone also, and then that to FYP 1. So they finally they cannot do anything during the final project 1. So you will need to prepare for that. You will need to prepare for that. So maybe a lot of discussion with student rather than completely together. Maybe hard. So maybe if they they understand what kind of work they do, they will do maybe wrongly or taking the prices or uh, presenting wrong data, for example. So this is important for us to get quite a experience to the work can be done or not easily, not period or not. So for that, in a Gantt chart, it is not a flow chart. I said to you because of there's a need to have like a loop, no look. There's a need of to have overlapping of overlapping of planning. You can see here in trying to have like the rate order it and in the 11. Some the discussion two also start from 11. So actually this overlapping point the buffer time. Whether actually the maybe the work is complete at 10, but maybe if there's any some situation happen, maybe some thing occur in the works, maybe the 11, the month of 11 is okay for them to still continue the particular point of the work. So if they complete, at least they can maybe move to the number 2. So they can start if at 10 they are no problem, so they can directly start to number 2, the 11 example. So that one they have overlap. So you cannot like say that the after 10 stop and then start second the work number 2. So you must give them, you must plan for them a point that they can still maybe check whether this is correct or not. So maybe after some particular months, maybe some particular length of this work, they are really get used to that work. Example, like using a machine. If they had done for already, so maybe they are already very good in controlling the machine. So however, you need to give a little bit buffer time so that if there's something happen, so they still have time until 11. So if they complete your work earlier, you can start from 11. So here you have the overlapping of works so that it will help the student maybe testing. So it's actually a planning. So you know that the planning sometimes is not accurate because of maybe what happens in the future, right? So at least we are able to give some sort of gap. So at least the student have their maybe vaccine in their work. So here you have milestone. So you get to tell them the milestone. So not do a very harsh milestone for them. You need at least to have a maybe achievable milestone. Milestone, I think. The way that they can achieve if your work is done, okay, you can get the data. So at least you must tell them the milestone itself have a complete statement maybe to have get to meet the parameter between A and B. Tentu to complete the fabrication of the device. So from there, the student know that what need to be achieved with that particular period. So although maybe you have planning with the student, but the student themselves very busy, unfocused, so maybe they have their own problems. So the planning itself maybe like going bad, maybe they are not achieve that particular risk. So at least you know that you are deciding the milestone that minimal to them. At least the way that whether mostly they can do it within the limit. So for me for me to say that you need to push them to reach our target is not that okay because this is our target but not their target. Maybe you can guide them to for a particular target for their ability, for their lack of experience and skills. Maybe they can reach this particular milestone, and then they can complete the whole objective of that particular research. So this milestone need to related to your objective. The what point of point that can you can say that this work is will after you reach this work and done, so this objective will be achieved. So from here you can know that you can easily for your assessment it's okay or not. which time whether they are stopping their job, stopping their work. Some of the point, example in quarter three, maybe the month 2, 3, 4, maybe they are having holiday, right? Maybe hari raya also. So here in Malaysia, we have a lot of holiday, so we need to manage them to have that holiday. So we say that you need to go holiday, but after holiday you need to. So because we are student, right? Student have their own psychological. Maybe if they don't complete their holiday, maybe they present, and then you don't if they have don't they haven't have any chance to meet their parents also, so they will go stress and don't and unable to treat them nicely as well. So they need to have their own time. You need to give chance for them. So anyway, that maybe of your guidance, maybe we. So from there to do the Gantt chart, you just use settings here. You can do this drawing of the time so that you get the milestone. And so here you can highlight it. So then you can look at it. What time they need to compare and what date they compare. So and some books they have this planning achievement, planning achievement. So I think it's not important. Just it's planning and then achievement is at least for that time lah. Opinion. But if some maybe like maybe in a final project they have this double line because what is achieved, whether they achieve before time or not. So actually have this buffer time. So they should end before that buffer time. They start at the 11. They can at least done complete at 10, and then, so this is the way you express your target for them. Yeah, and okay, so to guide your student, at least ask them to understand the purpose statement and its objective that you are prepared for that. You're prepared first. So when you explain to them the problem statement and this objective, at least actually you are the one who know about that problem. So the student doesn't understand what we are explaining to them. Maybe some of good students, maybe they have good skills and maybe knowledge, so they can understand easily what problem are stating to them. However, most of them actually 90% that will not understand what we are asking them to do. But we have the problem experience of our readings and our, so we have a good understanding of the problem. But understand it. So you need to explain them and thoroughly comprehend, what you are target and achieve for them. And then you need to prepare a table. Final project at least they have 30 of master, maybe at least 100. Okay. For PhD student, for they have maybe enough, I think, content. I think 100. Then but master at least they have 100. Okay. For FYP they have 30. Okay. So at least they have maybe accurate paper or literature that they can understand. But also for this master table, actually we ourselves have our own maybe collection of right. We ourselves and we write it, and then we know what is happening in the current research work. So maybe for you, you just share them collection of mine of my collection of that particular area. So then please do understand what you are going to do. So and then you must train them to execute this. Some of them maybe, yeah, example, them or maybe provide them some class. Ask anyone. Then you need to train them, especially machines that how to do. Some of maybe like social, maybe you need to teach data, right? So that one is as a supervisor means that you are other than guiding them to the final project, or maybe at least you need to have make them as your apprentice, maybe later in the future they are going to be your. And then they need to prepare the flow chart and Gantt chart so that and then this the assessed by you, the work done. So there maybe there are maybe a change of Gantt chart so later in the future, but at least you can and then if it happen is the plan. That this is my final advice. Thank you everyone who attended the training. But I don't know whether you have questions. On something. Thank you for I have still you can ask me if if I speak in English for you to understand whether I have a chance to connect to better, maybe I can speak one kan. So
Sorry? Oh.
I have a weakness in studying in public, but I feel that to actually I'm actually from the I actually the previously had a program of Indian Bachelor of Technology in so my student is very I think they didn't use study so just using it is using from vocation as English class. So if I want to share, I will share you later the site with Mr. Hazin, and maybe can use this site to explain to. I hope it helps you a lot. So if not question, tell me later. I just granted to. So thank you everyone. If you have maybe we have experiences and because we have cheap 100 so we attend so I hope you have a chance then have research apa makan for lunch yes. From career. Okay, the development of FYP